What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we did get Mario Kart Tour kind of released. It's in closed beta essentially now through invitation, and we actually have people putting out impressions. There has been some gameplay footage and screenshots put out, but you're not technically supposed to do that. It's actually supposed to stay pretty much confidential. It's something that Nintendo puts out there saying no gameplay or anything going up. So that actually might come down from different channels and stuff, but you can find it fairly easily with a quick search. Also, the PlayStation branch seems to have been taken off guard by Microsoft and Sony's pact to explore cloud gaming going forward. We're going to talk a bit about that as well. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure to hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed. Again, we're heading towards E3. There's going to be news and stuff all over the place. I'll try to keep you up to date here as best as possible going forward. So make sure you're subscribed. And we're also heading towards 300,000 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. Today we're going to start a bit with Nioh 2. Now, of course, Nioh 2 was announced, an E3 or so ago at Sony's own conference, and it kind of took some people off guard a bit. It was pretty cool to see, because there is a pretty good following behind the first Nioh. Very exciting to see Team Ninja talking about Nioh 2, and it looks like we're going to have a closed alpha for it. Now, I looked through it, and I didn't really see any way to necessarily sign up. They did say pay attention for more details on their Twitter account, but nothing like concrete or instead. It's very possible it's gonna be like a smaller group, and a lot of it has to do with them just kind of measuring feedback and seeing what they have to change up and everything. But it's actually gonna run from May 24th to June 2nd, so it's pretty soon that it's gonna be running, and most likely they'll have a way for people to sign up just before, I guess, it goes live, or maybe they've already picked people just on PlayStation who have played Nioh, or any other ways that they could see that, probably through email and everything. But pretty cool. The fact that it's going to closed alpha does say we could be seeing it possibly 2020 is what I'm thinking, so we'll keep an eye on that. Also, for any of you current Ouya owners or anyone who's actually playing the thing, well, I have some bad news. It's actually being shut down. The service, at least, is being shut down by Razer. Razer somehow ended up with Ouya, the brand, everything, for some reason. I don't know. They bought them, and it looks like they are shutting it down. They actually put out a full-page Q&A that goes over everything, even talking about how if you have currency on there now on the store, you're going to want to either spend it or do something with it, because well, once it's gone, it's gone. It can't be exchanged for cash or anything, so I guess spend it on a game, download the game, and then you'll at least have something. They do talk about how you're not going to be able to access the service anymore after the day that it goes down, and it's actually going down fairly soon, June 25th, so they're basically giving you about a month advance for this thing being shut down. Now, is it surprising? No. I think it's actually more surprising to a lot of people that it was still up. In fact, this news might have caught some people off guard, because they're probably thinking, oh, the Ouya is still a thing, it's still working. Well, it was. Next month it won't be, so I guess buy whatever the best game is on the Ouya if you have like $5 on there, and I guess move on. Now, of course, I don't think anything's going to come out of this from like the homebrew community or anything. I don't think there's going to be private servers or anything put up. I think this is just it for the Ouya brand. In fact, the whole thing here where they're not going to do anything else with it, that's pretty much it. So if you're a fan of the Ouya, we've pretty much seen the rise and now the complete fall of the system. Also, a little more information in the Time Splitters possibility of something happening from this thing. Now, this is a trademark that was actually registered by Koch Media, who, of course, with THQ Nordic and everything, and this is actually for Time Splitters Future Perfect. That's right, and the description does label things such as game cartridges as well, of course, as disc-based media, so it's very possible, I think, that we could hear something with Time Splitters. I wouldn't be shocked if they bring over Future Perfect and just move it to all the platforms and say, hey, look, here's Time Splitters, guys, with online and everything. I think people would like that at least. Now, I think some people may have preferred something like Time Splitters 2, but if they have like Future Perfect, they move that over, and then they're also working on a brand new Time Splitters. That would be pretty awesome. I'm just happy to hear a bit more about Time Splitters in general, and the idea that there is a trademark that's been filed, that's put out there, and it's all registered and everything, seems almost like it's ready to go for some kind of trade show or something coming up. I don't know. Now, no confirmation, obviously, but something to keep an eye on. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the Mario Kart Tour beta that's currently going on. A lot of people are actually playing it on Android currently to, I guess, test it out and everything. Most likely, Nintendo wants to see what they can get away with monetization practices and how they can make this all work on several different devices on Android. Most likely that's why you're not really seeing any kind of beta on iOS or anything currently, because there are so many different Android devices. Most likely Nintendo wants to make sure it'll work on the vast majority of them, right? Like the bigger ones, like your Samsung Galaxy phones, your HTC phones, your OnePlus, all of those. So it's out there now. You cannot currently spend actual money in it when it's in beta. They're not like doing any of that right now, but you can kind of see, well, the microtransactions and where they would fit in right now. I've seen several different hands-on impressions, ranging from people who aren't very happy with it. Some people are actually getting the hang of it and enjoying it. Now, Ars Technica did a full write-up and explained kind of a gacha-based Mario Kart game that's not online. And I know this is going to sound really weird to you guys, because this is the part that caught me off guard. This is not an online game. Everyone you're racing against that almost feels like it's online, it's all bots. There is no multiplayer in this game as it stands now. This, of course, is basically a games as a service going forward, right? It could happen. They could eventually add some form of multiplayer. I don't think that's out of the question. But as of now, it is a single-player only gacha-style game that does have a stamina system through the way of hearts that when you level up appears, you will actually regain your stamina. However, later in the game, it takes a bit longer to go up in ranks and get your stamina back. And when you get left with no stamina, you either wait around or you spend some premium currency to fill that stamina bar up. Now, as for the game itself, it controls okay. It has touch-based controls, but then it also has some gyro-based controls as well based on hands-on. And for the most part, it plays like Mario Kart. It looks pretty good. Again, you can go look up gameplay for it. You can't really show it as it's supposed to be under embargo and not put out there, but it's still technically out there. Now, I also talked to a few other people. One person I actually spoke to was Ant Dude, and he seemed okay with it. He didn't feel compelled to spend money early in the game, is what he was saying. And for the most part, it was Mario Kart. He enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't anything that he was like dying to get back to playing or anything. I think he'd probably rather play, Mario Kart on the Switch, most likely, but it's pretty cool to see it at least moved over to cell phones. Here's the thing, though. We could get to a point where it is heavily outfitted with microtransactions, as there is a gacha-based system, which means you essentially summon characters through loot boxes, which means this won't exist in Belgium at all, because they're against that completely. So it is randomized. You pull characters, you pull different carts, and you pull gliders, all of which can have different characteristics and can make you better or I guess worse in any given track or race. So we still need to see a lot about this, specifically where the premium currency will come into play and how much it actually costs. We don't actually know how much it costs because we can't buy anything with real money yet, but it will eventually come out of closed beta, most likely in the coming months, at which point everyone's going to try it out and kind of figure out if Nintendo was just testing things with closed beta, which can change and probably will change, or if what we're looking at now is the actual finished product and they're just testing different device configurations with hardware. Interesting stuff either way. I think it's still going to make them a lot of money. Animal Crossing does pretty well. Fire Emblem does amazingly well. Super Mario Run, not as much, but that was let me say this way. Full price cell phone game at $10. It wasn't free, and that was actually done the worst for Nintendo, so it's kind of Nintendo adapting to the environment because, let's face it, people who are playing games on cell phones, they want the free-to-play game with the freemium currency and all that stuff, so that's just what the market calls for. Next up, let's go over the Famitsu sales charts. It was actually a pretty boring week. I don't know if this is just down from Golden Week or whatnot, but not a lot happened. Actually, the game that topped the sales charts didn't even sell that much. I was mostly curious to see if, I guess, kind of the gap between the PlayStation 4 and the Switch would continue to increase as the Switch is now passed in Japan. Here's the top 10 games actually from Famitsu with ease. Memories of Celseta, from, of course, Falcom, and that was 13,895 units. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate there at number 2 with 8,507. So yes, a game that sold just under 14,000 units actually topped the sales charts. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe there at 3, Minecraft at 4, Days Gone at 5. So that has slipped a bit, 48%. as you can see there from the week prior. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu Eevee there at 6. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 7. Splatoon 2, 8. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, 9. Yoshi's Crafted World then at 10. Jumping over to the hardware, Nintendo Switch top 32,564. The PlayStation 4 below that, 9,560. The 3DS, 2,529. The PlayStation Vita, which is still sticking around in Japan strangely, at 290. And the Xbox One at 112. And you can see it was a pretty large drop for all systems involved there, but the Switch did, of course, jump over the PlayStation 4 even further. That's now at 8.15 million units in Japan sold, whereas the PlayStation 4 is starting to trail behind almost at 8.1 million units. So yes, the Switch continues to build that gap between it and the PlayStation 4, and like I said, it will continue. This is considered a slower week in Japan, as we're obviously seeing here, which means as we start to get in with things like Mario Maker 2 and Astral Chain and Fire Emblem and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it's going to get out of control. I think most people realize that, and by the end of this year, I think the gap is going to be in the millions, to be honest. So interesting stuff there, but we'll see how everything goes as we go through the rest of the year. Next up, let's talk about how the PlayStation branch was apparently caught off guard by the Microsoft and Sony deal or agreement. Basically, they're going to be exploring different things that has to do with the cloud and gaming and other things in cloud with AI and all of that, with Sony's own sensors, all kinds of stuff. It's technically not a deal set in stone. They're mostly going to be exploring agreements going forward, and if it looks good, then they'll really, I guess, write up a full contract and everything. But most likely, what we're going to see is Sony leveraging Microsoft's data centers and Azure for their cloud-based gaming going forward, which has to do with streaming. Now, what's interesting about this situation is we, of course, saw the pictures and everything of the Sony president, and of course, we saw Microsoft CEO shaking hands and everything. But what's odd about this is, according to Bloomberg, a lot of this was done without PlayStation's knowledge, at all, their branch, which is odd because PlayStation makes Sony quite a bit of money compared to their other divisions, but they seem to exclude them from all talks, and that PlayStation branch apparently was kind of concerned to the point where people had to be calmed down, and it seemed like they might have been worried that the PlayStation branch was just overlooked for this deal because I guess it didn't matter as much for them to know. It's an odd thing to look at it this way, but here's the thing. The PlayStation branch should feel as safe as possible right now because they make Sony a lot of money. Now they're going to next generation. What we're looking at with this deal and why people are so excited about their agreement to kind of work together with cloud gaming and everything going forward is because there's a lot of upside for Sony as they can tackle cloud gaming with their IPs that are very popular and do really well. It's very interesting, to be honest, just to see PlayStation kind of left out of the loop on this one. Basically, when we heard about it, it was news to them too. It's news to us. We're like, wow, this is amazing. People in the PlayStation branch were like, what? Why is this happening? How did this happen? Just like we were. So I'm not really sure what that means for Sony overall. Maybe they're looking at this and saying, hey, look, this is more or less for things outside of PlayStation, how we're going to leverage PlayStation Now and Microsoft's data centers and Azure. Not necessarily, hey, we're going to replace the PlayStation, right? That's not happening anytime soon. No, definitely not. So I don't think the people at the PlayStation branch have anything to be calmed down about. Their jobs are fine. That system's not going anywhere. It's about to cross 100 million units for the PS4, and I think the PS5 is going to get off to a fast start as well. And our last bit of news, take a look at this thing. This is a new handheld system that is coming out, I believe, later on this year. I signed up for the newsletter and their waiting list and everything for it just to see it. This is called the Playdate. That is a crank on it. Yeah, this is a very odd system. And sometimes, you know what? You gotta be odd to stick out from the pack, right? This is definitely a system you're not gonna see anywhere else or these features anywhere else, but let's go over them anyway. So yes, you're seeing the full system. It has a crank on the right side, and this is actually from Panic. Panic is the company who funded Firewatch, for example. I believe they're publishing Untitled Goose Game, and they're creating a handheld. Now, the handheld is going to have 12 built-in games that will apparently unlock over time. They're going to be kept secret on the device. Good luck with that, by the way, with people data mining these things all the time, so I don't really know how that's going to work out. It has a black and white screen that is not backlit or frontlit, apparently, a D-pad, 2 buttons, and a crank. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the crank, but why not? Okay, sure. It's different, right? I assume there will be some kind of fishing game. They've shown different things where they're able to move characters on screen with it. Of course, you have your traditional D-pad and buttons. It also has USB Type-C for charging. It does have Wi-Fi built in. It has a price tag, though, of $150. That concerns me because it's priced kind of high, but they said they've been working on this for about 4 or 5 years now, and they weren't going to go to crowdfunding. And the reason they say it's so expensive is because they don't have the buying power as the bigger console manufacturers do. But I am definitely curious enough to take a look at this for myself, and I will. And that's when I think I'll have more information for you about it when I can open it up. I can talk to you about the games that are built in. However, apparently the games are going to unlock over time, so it might be weeks, months even, before we know about all of the games on there, which is still kind of strange to me. But I mean, they're at least out in left field, I guess, with this. And sometimes, you know what, you got to be crazy to come up with a cool idea. So maybe it's crazy enough to work. I don't know. We'll see. And let's finish up today with the comment of the day from yesterday. As you're seeing here, this one is from Elizabeth Young saying, I'm already on board with the PS5. I just need to know about compatibility. Will it be able to play PS4 and PS3 games as well as any PS5 games? Well, good news, it will play PS4 games, apparently. We'll have backwards compatibility there. Of course, play PS5 games. I don't know about PS3. That actually might be something that stays with kind of their cloud-based stuff, and hey, maybe it'll get better with leveraging Microsoft data centers and stuff. Who knows? But the interesting thing here is, at a recent investors briefing, we had Jim Ryan, and then we also had John Cadera talking about backwards compatibility between the PS4 and the PS5 online. So when we shift from this generation to next, if your friend has a PS4 and you have a PS5, you can still play older PS4 games together. The PS5 and the PlayStation 4 will connect to the network, and you guys will be playing against each other, whether it's Last of Us, right? Maybe you want to play the first Last of Us remastered, maybe The Last of Us 2, which we assume will be a PS4 game, as they've said. You'll be able to play against each other there. So that's actually really cool to hear about. It'll make shifting the generation a bit easier, so you won't have to completely break off and leave your friends behind. But they are working on that. We haven't heard anything about PS3, PS2, or PS1. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm not really expecting it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is PlayStation being caught off guard by the Sony-Microsoft agreement. Do you think that's actually gonna cause any internal strife, or do you think they were explained and they said, yeah, okay, I guess that doesn't really have much to do with us necessarily, or damaging the PlayStation brand? Also, what do you think about the Playdate? And then, what do you think of, I'm sorry, that name's ridiculous. What do you think about Mario Kart Tour and some of the impressions you've seen around the internet? Also, have you played it? I'm curious about that as well. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.